Hello. Chaotic day today. So this is our magic garden. Q&A. Paula, Carole Janis, Carole Demas. Thank you for coming. Is that on?
I'll try another. I'm back. How about this one? Okay, we're good. Hello, everybody. My husband is an audio engineer, and when I put a microphone down like that, he comes running and says, "No!" So I'm trained, like a puppy.
Woof.
Woof, right.
Sorry about that. So this is the one event that people kept stopping me in the hallway saying, "Are you going to do a magic garden thing?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Okay.
It's like, how many people grew up with the show? How many people grew up with the show?
Thank you. That's wonderful.
So, first question is, so how did it come about, the genesis of this?
Well, I can start that, and then Paula, because we finish each other's sentences, so she can tell you the second half. But back in the late 60s, early 70s, there was a lot of interest in offering good educational programming for children, and stations who wanted to be well thought of and have their licenses renewed and whatever were very into doing that. So WPIX decided that they wanted to make a show of their own rather than try to dig around and find something to run. And they were looking for someone with education of children in background, and I was a teacher, and someone with television experience. So they called my agent, asked me to go up and talk to them, but they wanted to do a cartoon show and they wanted a host. That's what they wanted to do. And I thought, we could do so much better than that. Paula and I have been friends now for 65 years. We've been friends since we were 14. We met in high school.
Don't do the math. Don't do that.
We had sung for the New York Shakespeare Festival together. Paula plays the guitar, I do not. We were teachers at PS7 in Brooklyn together in a double enrollment kindergarten room. We had everything that fit what they were looking for, except the idea of doing a cartoon show. So I said, we could be a great team, and we would love to give you an idea of what we could do. And I thought, I'm talking myself out of a job here. What's the matter with me? But I wanted to work with my friends so much, and I just knew that we could come up with something good.
To take it back just a little bit farther, when Carole and I met at Midwood High School when we were 14 years old, we were very good friends, and then we went to different colleges, and we didn't drift apart, but we didn't see as much of each other as we had previously. Until one day, we're at NYU, New York University Graduate School, in an enormous classroom, history of education. I will never forget it because it was so incredibly boring that you couldn't see straight. But I hear the teacher is actually calling the roll on this first day. And he calls Carole Demas. What? Where is she? She's in this class? And then he calls my name, which at that time was Paula Rosen. And she has the same reaction.
Where? Is there another Paula Rosen? But there she was, my friend.
And right after that, I got a teaching license. Carole already had this. And I got a teaching job to teach kindergarten. And on the first day before school started, new teachers had to report to the school. And this was PS7 under the Brooklyn Bridge in Brooklyn. And I get to the school, and the little principal who had 3 hairs on his head was tearing each one of them out because it was a double kindergarten, and the other teacher had just called in to say that she was pregnant. And in those days, you could not teach if you were pregnant. Can you even imagine how that would go down today? No. Anyway, so I said, don't move, don't move. I called Carole. She came running down. And of course,
jumped in my little Volkswagen Beetle and drove to PS7.
And we two taught in one giant classroom, 2 teachers and 50 children under the Brooklyn Bridge. We didn't know anything about anything. So what did we do? We sang songs, we told stories, we jumped up and down, we showed them how not to eat the paste.
Right. They didn't speak English, many of them. They had never been in school before. They'd never been to pre-K or anything like that, no nursery school. They came into this great big building. The only time they ever had to do that was when they were coming for shots. So the first thing they did was cry. Non-stop. Until we finally convinced them that this wasn't going to be scary, and we were going to have a great time, and we were going to learn a lot, and we were going to be prepared to go into first grade and learn how to read. And we got lucky.
Yeah,
it worked. And we brought all of that to the Magic Garden about 10 years later at WPIX, and we worked on shows that were 1 page, just an outline that we had helped prepare, no dialogue. We made it up as we went along.
And sometimes you could really tell that.
And we gave them lists of songs we could do with 2 voices and a guitar, and stories and things we needed. And it was a crazy, crazy time, because Paula had just had her first of 3 children, and I was working on Broadway as the original Sandy in Grease. And I was doing 8 shows a week, and she was taking care of a little baby and hardly ever sleeping. And we had 1 day a week on Mondays to shoot the Magic Garden, and we made the best of it. And the rest is history.
That's right.
I'm sorry you asked that question. You don't stop.
That was my 3rd, 4th, and 5th question. So, did you guys write the songs together?
No.
No.
But we did edit them a little and add to them, and never got credit for any of that because we hadn't figured out how to, copyright something. We just couldn't figure that out. But
a lot of the songs we sang were PD songs and folk songs, from all nations and from all times. We even went back to Chaucer and Shakespeare and things like that, because the idea was we wanted to bring these children more music than they heard on the street and in their own homes, a wider variety of music. And today when we meet you, you say things like, I never knew there was that kind of music. You made me appreciate so many things that would never have come into my life. And that was a nice thing to hear.
Oh, so they were actual folk songs.
Oh, yes. Well, not all of them, but
some of
most
them.
Many. Well, we actually even sang 1 or 2 Broadway songs.
Yes, and some pop songs of the time, which was the early 70s.
So, how did the show come across so psychedelic-y, though?
Gosh.
Because it was the 70s.
And there we were in our bell-bottoms with our little boots.
And a talking...
And the talking squirrel. And the mushrooms.
The mushrooms.
Yes.
Mushrooms.
Which
Everyone was...
No, we were not eating them.
And they were so sure of that. Everyone was sure. And there was never anybody who would be less likely to eat a mushroom than the 2 of us.
We had too much work to do. And we still have them. And we bring them with us when we do our live performances. And the minute they appear, people just get happy. You don't have to eat them. You only have to see them.
So the show ran for an unusually long time, being what it was, which was great. Like, I guess children became teenagers, teenagers became parents while watching the show, because it lasted over 10 years.
It was almost 13 years.
Almost 13 years.
From 1972 to 1974 and a half. I'm sorry, 84 and a half. And of course, in the very beginning, when it first started, it was only out once a week. And then, as we caught up a few shows, then they played it 4 times a week. And on Friday was Joya's Fun School. And a lot of people have said, we liked you better than Joya. But Joya was a serious jazz singer.
She was terrific, and a lot of kids really did enjoy her work.
Right. And then it went every day. And until they rescinded the Children's Television Act, which was the reason we had gone on the air in the first place, pretty much,
yeah.
We were off like that.
Well, there wasn't a lot of commercial time, the way our show was built. And, you know, the new station manager thought it was time for them to make some money. We had just released our last album, which was called Musical Goose on the Loose, and it was a Grammy nominee, and it was based on the rhymes and favorite songs of childhood that probably everyone in this room is familiar with. Only we did them in different musical styles, and we got some of the great jazz musicians that we knew and studio musicians that we knew, and we just started having a good time with them. And that was not a good time for the Magic Garden to stop just when we had made the investment in this recording, but at least we got a nomination out of it, so all was not lost. And we still have it. We still sell the CD, so it's around.
There are 10 episodes on a DVD collection, which is very popular, and even though children's television today is very different than the Magic Garden, we've discovered that young children still love the Magic Garden and will sit down and watch 10 episodes and over and over and over again, you know. And it still works.
It's classic, you know. Children are still children, and some things are timeless. Well, we'll have parents who write us and they're buying the DVD collection, and they say, we have children. We're really buying this for us, but maybe the children will like it. And then we hear from them, and they say, we're amazed because there's so much media thrown at them. They have so much stuff to see and watch, but they like this. And it makes their parents very happy to be sharing it with them. It makes us happy, too.
Sometimes we see 3 generations in the audience when we're doing a live concert show at the Magic Garden. There'll be the grandmother who was the mother originally, the mother who was the child originally, and now there's a new child who's scratching his head and saying, how come my mother and my grandmother know these songs? How did that happen?
Or why are they sitting in this audience being so silly and weird? They're getting up, we tell the kids to get up and do this and that, and the parents just jump right up into it too. And the kids are just as stunned and amused by watching Mom as they are watching us.
I think the first time I saw these after a long, long time, if not, the early days of Facebook, I guess they were on YouTube, and like really hard to see copies, maybe somebody...
We don't know how they even got there.
How they even got there. But it's cool though, because people started sharing them, at least my friends were crazy as me. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot about their show. And then other people started chiming in like, it's still around though, it's not still around, but everybody forgot about it. And then just seeing a little bit of it reminded everyone how educational, trippy, and unusually weird and very cool it was.
We like to be thought of as cool, that's not
weird. Right? And actually, they found the lost Christmas special.
Yes, I read about that.
That was a serious find, right? And they have since run it on Christmas Day or a few days around Christmas for the past couple of years, and a few episodes now and then. So it's amazing to us.
The Daily News ran a whole page about the finding of this thing, because there were storage vaults in the basement of the Daily News building where there was a flood. And some maintenance person came up to WPIX and said, you guys have some stuff stored down there, and we think it's probably damaged or going to be, so you better get down there. And everybody at PIX just looked at each other and went, storage vaults? They didn't know they were there, and no one had a key. So the head of social media, Rolando Pujol, ran down to the basement and broke the door down. And when he got in there, the water was about that high, and everything on the lower shelves, unfortunately, was completely shot. And then he looked up, and he said he saw these 3 or 5 big fat reels of tape that said, "A Magic Garden Christmas." And that was something that he hadn't seen, so he got very excited. Obviously, it was in an old format. It wasn't even edited, but he saved it, and then he got in touch with us and said, "We've got the pieces, but we don't know how they go together." So we don't know what comes first, we don't know anything. So my husband, Stuart Allen, helped them to reassemble it, and they started running it, and people are enjoying it. So we are just feeling very blessed and very happy that it's still out there for people who enjoy it. It's great.
Yeah, sure.
Does it, oh, boy. Yes, sure.
What's your most memorable moment for each of you on the set? Or performing?
Wow. 47 years, that's a lot of moments.
On the Magic Garden.
I know, I mean in the Magic Garden.
Well, some of the most memorable moments would be when we would open up the story box to tell the story, and we had told them what story we were going to tell, and they would put props in there for us to put on and tell the story. And there would be things in there that we had no idea what that was. And how were we even supposed to tell the story we thought we were going to tell with that?
Is this what we told them? Paula would hold something up to me like I was supposed to identify it. I don't know what that is either. But so there was a certain mystery about it, which means that you always wondered what was in there, and so did we.
There was another time, just to tell you another moment, when we had this cat that had kittens.
Yes.
And we were singing the
Three Little
Kittens song. And the mother cat decided that she didn't like where these little kittens were situated. So she began picking them up one at a time, jumping out of this crate that she was in and taking them off somewhere, and then coming back and getting the next one. And we sang Three Little Kittens over and over and over again until she got all of those kittens moved to wherever she wanted them.
The cameras kept running. It was absolutely irresistible. You know, they were just at that age when they were all skin, you know, right here, and she would grab each one very tenderly and leap out of the basket and go, and it turned out she was taking them to the control room. Why she was fond of that spot, we don't really know, and everyone kept going, so we figured nothing evil or scary was happening to them, and it was just the cutest thing, so we just kept singing. And it's a clip that we love, and we usually include it now in our live performances, because it's, I mean, animals, kittens, how can you lose? Really.
Thank you.
Right.
Yes?
I wanted to ask you, whose idea was the Tucker House?
That's interesting because the artist, wonderful artist who created the set, drew a tree with white daisies at the base. So essentially, he did. But they didn't have a personality yet. You know, they were just growing there. And there was a writer at WPIX who was a staff writer who was involved with it. And it was such a coming together of talents and creative ideas that it's very hard for us to answer that question properly. We aren't really sure who actually came up with the idea of the leaves with the jokes on them, because everybody was tossing up, we would have meetings, you know, and everybody had an idea, and the voice, the laughing, was Paula and me and my brother Alex, who played the banjo on all of the soundtracks and was with us for a lot of our live things, all telling jokes to each other in a sound booth and then laughing at them, and then they speeded it up. So the Chuckle Patch's voice is us.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And then when I had my kids, which I did, I'm one of the people who bought the DVDs to rewatch it a million times. And I taught my kids to do the same thing. And they're like, there's nothing on it. And I was like, I know, but just what do you choose?
But of course there is. Kids sent us leaves in the mail all the time. And they knew we could read the jokes that were on them. They knew there were jokes on them. We knew there were jokes on them. Nobody else could read them because it was the Magic Garden.
Yes.
Live once a week, all 4 shows? Like, did you re-tape or did you just live? Like, they just taped it once?
They taped the
They were
one
all
show a
taped.
day, and they were all taped.
So you showed up every day and
No, I wish we could have, but you know, I was doing 8 shows a week. Paula had a baby. We had one day. I had my Mondays off, and so we would come into, and they would move out the news set, and they would put Magic Garden in, and the Yankees team, who shot the Yankees games in those days, was assigned to shoot the Magic Garden. They had a great time. They said, this is great. Pulling all the little nylon filaments and stuff. So we, and Paula would come to the theater, God bless her, with a baby on her back and a sandwich for me, and we would go down into the basement of the theater and figure out what we would do. I mean, it isn't like there was nothing, but you know, we had to fill it in, and they would time it. They'd say, this section is 3 minutes, this section is 4, and they'd either go, stretch it, keep it going, or get out of here, this is, you know, this section's done. And that's literally the way we worked. So we only got 1 show done on a Monday at first, then 1.5, and after we had been doing it for quite a time, we were able to squeeze in 2. But as they accumulated, they began to run them more days. So that's how that worked. But we really didn't have a script other than an outline, so it was interesting.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, what's the story behind Sherlock the Squirrel?
Well, Paula can tell you that.
Well, Sherlock was made out of a pink bath mat and half of a rubber ball and pipe cleaners. And Carrie Antibes, the puppeteer who created him for an audition at PIX. And they liked him so well that they hired him to do the Magic Garden. And every once in a while, Carole can be seen pushing the pipe cleaners that are falling off back up there so that they don't drop into the chocolate.
I tried to make it look like an affectionate little pat on the cheek. But it was actually major surgery.
But the puppeteer was also known for another puppet, Rags, on another show. And he's incredibly creative and wonderful. And he still appears with us on lucky occasions. He'll be with us twice coming in the fall.
In October, yes. We'll be out in Bayshore at Bolton Center, and we will be at Woodstock Playhouse in October. So you can find us on caroleandpaula.com or caroledemas.com. Everything we're up to, all the stuff we're into, you can find it there.
Is there anyone on this side? No, he's just holding up his thing.
He's just taking a picture.
Oh, okay.
Well, it did actually go across the country on something that was then called cable creep, which really meant that little cities all across the country that didn't have their own little children's television show, they could download it from the satellite. And we never really even knew where it was playing until we started getting orders from Nebraska and Colorado and all strange
For our record that we made.
places. For our record album, right? Which showed up here today at least half a dozen times, people still have the old original Magic Garden record album. And so that's how it went wherever it went.
So I'm sorry to report, but Carole, wow, Mike doesn't agree either. We have to get back to your table. Do you want to sing us out with something, or? Do it. Yes, yes,
I'm gone. No, I'm not. Since we're leaving you, we'll see ya. And we'll be downstairs, and we'd love to see any of you that we haven't seen, or even if we have. This is a song that we close the show with. It was called See Ya, and it was written by George Kayada, who was a Vietnam vet with a heart of gold, a man full of music, the sweetest guy you'll ever know. And we are grateful to him for his contribution. And the song was See Ya.
See ya, hope you had a good time. Da-dum. Hope you have a real nice day now. Da-dum. We hope we get to see you again.
And then we just bopped on out.
Bopped on out, right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. We enjoyed this.